Welcome, everyone, to my 2014 NFL post-Week 6 Power Rankings. You will find my rankings of every NFL team from down at the bottom, number 32, all the way up to number 1, down in the description box below. I will give you some of my thoughts and let you know some of my thought process as I put together these Power Rankings for the post-Week 6 time frame. Now, looking at the bottom 5 teams, I've got the Jaguars at number 32 because, they are 0-6, and it seems like they keep finding ways to lose games. And, that loss against a bad Titans team, that was just really bad. So while other people might still say the Raiders or the Buccaneers, and I might not disagree that those teams are just as bad, if not worse, at the moment, I've got to put the Jaguars at 0-6, the only team with 6 losses on the season at number 32. 31, I got to go with the Buccaneers. I mean, this is another embarrassing outing for them against the Ravens at week number 6. Those are 2 really bad, horrendous blowout losses where it looks like they didn't show up and they didn't care. That's not good. They have to be punished for that. I put the Raiders at number 30 because, this is a Raiders team that's shown some flashes. They're a team that played the Patriots really, really tough a couple of weeks ago. And then they played the Chargers, who some might feel is the best team in the AFC, at least if not the National Football League at this time. They played them incredibly tough, stuck a game to them, and maybe, frankly, should have won that game. I've got the Redskins at 29. Doesn't matter at this point if it's Kirk Cousins or Robert Griffin III. That team just sucks. And what's even worse for the Redskins now is any hope they had of being able to flip Kirk Cousins in the future for a high draft pick is now gone because people realize he's not that good. And then number 28, I go to the Jets. While they played the Broncos relatively tough for most of the game, the Jets still stink, and they are still 1-5. And as a result, I think they are one of the 5 worst teams in the National Football League. Now going to the top 5. I've got the Eagles at number 5. They were very impressive coming off of that Sunday night matchup where they blew out and dominated the Giants and shut them out. It's got to be rewarded. 5-1 is 5-1. Number 4, I've got the Broncos. They're at 4-1. They shouldn't have had such a hard time with the Jets, but they did. But again, this is a team that is 4-1. They look all right now. I still stand by what I said about them before the season, but this is the power rankings for this season. I got them at number 4 at this point. I've still got the Seahawks at number 3. I know they're at 3-2, but this is still the Seahawks. This is still the defending champions. And it's not exactly like they've lost to scrub teams. In fact, they've lost to the top 2 teams in my power rankings by very close margins. So if there were ever quality losses, those would most surely be it. Number 2, I've got the Dallas Cowboys at 5-1. And what more can I say? At the moment, you got to call them legit. And at the moment, you got to be impressed with them. DeMarco Murray is a legit MVP candidate. That offensive line is validating in so many ways what that organization and Jerry Jones in particular and Stephen Jones' son especially have done in the draft in recent years. Tony Romo has less pressure on him and is making fewer mistakes and is making some timely key plays. Their defense, because of the offense, isn't on the field as much, and when they are on the field, they're playing at a much higher level than anybody could have anticipated. I could have easily put him here at number 1, and I almost did, but I put him at number 2 at least for now. But this is a team, it looks like their schedule softens up in the middle portion of the season. This is a team that, is going to apparently surprise a lot of people, prove a lot of people like myself wrong, and hey, good for them. Good for their fans. Impressive start by the Cowboys. I've still got the Chargers at the moment at number 1. I could have put the Cowboys there at number 1 and was somewhat tempted to. But, sometimes when you play a divisional opponent, you could throw records out of the equation. You get a team like the Raiders who, playing against a team like the Chargers is like their Super Bowl. So sometimes you got to factor that in. It's not just that they had a tough game stuck to them by the lowly Raiders. This is a divisional opponent that is familiar with what they do. This is a divisional opponent that doesn't like the Chargers. This is a divisional opponent that looks at a game against a team like the Chargers and views it as a huge game, as a potential Super Bowl or playoff type of game. So you're going to get those guys in a lot of cases to play way above themselves. The Chargers, even with the injuries that they're encountering, are still finding ways to win games. They're getting different guys to step up. And Phillip Rivers, again, is a legit MVP candidate. So I've got my power rankings down below. You'll see some of the other teams there. A couple of you might ask, well, how are the Cardinals first place in the NFC West and at 4-1, but you've got them at 8? Power rankings are not necessarily always just about the record alone and who they've beaten and, that type of stuff. and opponents strike the schedule. It's also about what I see out of the team. They didn't play all that particularly well, in my opinion, against the Redskins. It was more so Kirk Cousins and the Redskins pissing the game down their leg as much as anything. This is a team with injuries on the defensive end. I just don't think the Cardinals are that great at this point, and I think they could come back to earth a little bit in the second half of the season. You might look at why I had the Bengals drop so much. Well, coming off of the bye, they got blown out by the Patriots and they tied the Panthers at home. But it just kind of worked out the way. Sometimes this shit happens when I do these power rankings. Teams are going to drop more than anticipated or rise more than I anticipated. But that's how it goes. So you can take a look at my power rankings in the description box down below and let me know what you think. Like I said, we're only 6 weeks in, so we got, another 10, 11 weeks to go in this 2014 NFL season. Yippee.